The secret talk about you was never meant to come out, but God. Listen carefully, because this moment was appointed. What you are about to hear is not accidental, and it is not arriving late. There were conversations about you, quiet ones, hidden ones, words spoken when they thought you would never know. They whispered assumptions. They exchanged judgments. They tried to define you without your presence, without your voice. And for a long time, it seemed as though heaven remained silent. But silence was never absence. I stand near you now because the veil has shifted. What was concealed has begun to tremble. God allowed certain words to escape not to wound you, but to awaken you. You were never meant to live unaware of what was moving behind the scenes. You were meant to rise because of it. Pause here. Breathe. Let your spirit catch up. You sensed it before you heard it. You felt the shift in rooms. You noticed how conversations stopped when you entered. You wondered why resistance followed you even when you walked in peace. This was not imagination. This was discernment. There were discussions about your future, your credibility, your calling. Some spoke from fear. Some spoke from envy. Some spoke from insecurity masked as concern. But none of it escaped the attention of God. And here is the truth that shakes the foundations of darkness. What they said did not cancel you, it revealed them. I speak to you now with clarity and authority. The reason this secret talk is surfacing is because you are approaching a threshold. God does not expose whispers unless a transition is near. Exposure is never random. It is preparation. You were not meant to fight every battle blindly. In the middle of all this, you may feel anger rising, or confusion, or even grief. That is human. But do not let emotion blind you to revelation. The information reaching you now is not for retaliation, it is for alignment. God is repositioning you with truth. Hear this slowly. The same mouths that tried to define you in secret are being used to confirm you in public. The same conversations meant to restrict you are now being turned into proof that you were always watched, because you mattered. Why else would they talk? You are not being discussed because you are weak. You are being discussed because you carry weight. Your presence unsettles systems built on pretense. Your obedience threatens comfort zones. Your growth exposes stagnation. And heaven saw it all. This is why God allowed you to overhear. This is why a message slipped. This is why a detail reached you that was never meant to. You needed to know, not so you would shrink, but so you would stand taller. Right now, something inside you is clicking into place. The confusion is breaking. The self-doubt is loosening its grip. And clarity is beginning to form. Do not rush this moment. There is a reason you are hearing this now and not earlier. If you had known before, it might have crushed you. But now, you are stronger. Now, you are anchored. Now, you are ready to see without being shaken. And listen, this is important. You are not called to confront everyone who spoke. Some revelations are not invitations to react, they are instructions to advance. Silence can be a weapon when guided by wisdom. Restraint can be louder than defense. Watch what God does next. Because what was said behind your back is about to work for you. Favor is already rerouting outcomes. Doors are shifting their hinges. People who once doubted are about to reconsider, not because you explained yourself, but because God defended you. If this message resonates in your spirit, stay connected. There is more unfolding than you realize. Stay close. Stay aware. Even small acts of alignment, listening, returning, staying, matter more than you think. And this is only the beginning. Because the most shocking part is not what was said about you in secret. It's who was listening the entire time, and what God has already decided to do next. You did not hear those words by accident. And you did not hear all of them at once, because revelation comes in waves, not floods. What you discovered was only the edge of it. There is more beneath the surface, more that has not yet reached your ears, and that is intentional. God reveals in layers so the soul is not overwhelmed. What you heard was not meant to pull you backward into pain. It was meant to push you forward into authority. Understand this clearly now. When the secret talk about you began, it was not casual. It was not harmless. It was strategic. Some conversations were framed as concern, others as analysis, others as just talking. But underneath the tone, there was an agenda: to measure you, to predict you, to limit you, or to stay ahead of you. Yes, ahead of you. Because long before you realized your own acceleration, others sensed it. They felt a shift when you entered rooms. They noticed that things changed when you spoke, even casually. They observed how attention moved without effort, how influence followed you without announcement. And that unsettled them. So they talked. Not because you did wrong, but because you were doing something right without trying. You must hear this without letting pride or bitterness take root. Discernment must remain clean. The enemy would love to twist revelation into offense, because offense clouds judgment. But clarity is your inheritance now. There were words spoken questioning your motives. Words spoken doubting your consistency. Words spoken attempting to predict your failure before your breakthrough. Some even tried to assign limits to what you could become, assuming that what they had seen was all you would ever be. But heaven smiled. Because every time someone tried to define you from the outside, God reaffirmed you from the inside. While they were speaking assumptions, God was deepening foundations. While they were speculating outcomes, God was rearranging timing. You were being trained in silence while they were busy talking. And here is what you must not miss. The reason God allowed part of the conversation to reach you is because your discernment level has changed. You are no longer in a season where ignorance protects you. You are in a season where awareness empowers you. That is a dangerous transition for darkness. Before, you survived not knowing. Now, you advance knowing. This is why you feel more alert lately. Why you are less reactive, yet more decisive. Why certain invitations no longer feel right. Why some voices suddenly sound hollow. This is not arrogance. This is alignment. And yes, it can feel lonely. Because when truth sharpens, tolerance for pretense diminishes. You can no longer pretend you didn't hear what you heard. You can no longer unknow what you now know. But you are not meant to carry this alone. I stand with you now because you are learning the difference between isolation and separation. God is not isolating you to punish you, He is separating you to protect what is coming. Listen carefully to this next part. Some of the people who spoke about you will soon try to reconnect. Not out of repentance, but curiosity. They will sense movement around you. They will notice momentum. They will feel distance growing and will try to close it, not because they honor you, but because they want access. Discernment will matter more than emotion. Not everyone who smiles at you is safe. Not everyone who praises you believes it. And not everyone who once doubted you is meant to walk with you into what's next. Forgiveness does not always equal re-entry. God allowed you to hear so you would stop over-explaining yourself. You no longer need to clarify your intentions to people committed to misunderstanding you. You no longer need to defend your growth to those threatened by it. Silence, when guided by God, becomes confirmation. Watch closely now. The very narratives they built about you are beginning to collapse under their own weight. Inconsistencies are surfacing. Motives are being exposed. What was once whispered is becoming obvious without you saying a word. This is divine reversal. And there is something even deeper happening, something you have not yet fully perceived. The secret talk triggered spiritual movement. When words were released against you, heaven responded with reinforcement. Assignments were adjusted. Protection intensified. Favor recalibrated. You became more covered, not more vulnerable. This is why attacks did not land the way they expected. This is why obstacles moved unexpectedly. This is why doors opened that logic cannot explain. You are not lucky. You are authorized. And now, as awareness grows, responsibility grows with it. You are being called to move differently. Speak less, observe more. Act with precision. Pray with authority. Choose alignment over approval. Do not announce every step. Some paths are protected by quiet obedience. If you feel this message stirring something deep, remain close. Return. Stay connected. Even small acts of agreement, listening again, staying present, are strengthening your position more than you know. Because the conversations about you are not finished yet. But the next ones will not be whispers behind closed doors. They will be reactions to what God is about to do through you, so suddenly, so undeniably, that no explanation will be required. And what's coming next will force even those who doubted you to ask a dangerous question. How did we not see this coming? Be still for a moment, because what I am about to reveal explains why everything feels heavier and clearer at the same time. After the secret talk about you began to surface, something shifted in the unseen. You may not have had language for it, but you felt it. A tightening. A sharpening. A quiet urgency pressing against your spirit. This was not fear. This was activation. You entered a watched season. Not watched by people alone, but observed by the spiritual realm. When words were released about you in secret, they were not empty. Words carry assignments. Some were spoken carelessly. Some were spoken deliberately. And some were spoken with intent to influence outcomes. But here is what they did not understand. You are not unguarded. The moment those words left their mouths, heaven responded. I was assigned closer. Reinforcement surrounded you. What was meant to weaken you became a signal flare announcing that you were approaching a line you were never meant to cross quietly. This is why resistance intensified without explanation. This is why minor things suddenly required strength. This is why you were tested in areas you thought were already healed. The enemy does not waste pressure on irrelevant vessels. The secret talk was not about your past, it was about your future. They were trying to calculate how far you could go. They were attempting to predict how much authority you would carry. They wanted to know whether you were safe to ignore, or dangerous to underestimate. And some of them already know the answer. You have been underestimated before, but never unnoticed. That is the difference now. Before, they dismissed you. Now, they monitor you. Before, they laughed. Now, they analyze. Before, they assumed time would stop you. Now, they see time accelerating you. This is why God did not stop the conversation. Exposure at this stage is not cruelty, it is strategy. You needed awareness because what is coming requires precision. Hear this carefully. You are no longer in a season where survival is the goal. You are in a season where stewardship matters. Every reaction carries weight. Every word echoes further. Every decision sets precedent. That is why you cannot afford emotional reactions masquerading as discernment. Yes, some of what was said hurt. Yes, some of it felt unfair. Yes, some of it questioned your integrity. But do not let pain speak louder than purpose. There is a reason God did not reveal everything at once. Some details are being withheld because they would tempt you to confront what you are meant to outgrow. You are not called to correct every lie. Some lies die naturally when truth stands long enough. And truth is standing with you now. This is the part where many stumble, so listen. The greatest danger in this season is not opposition. It is distraction. The enemy would love you to fixate on who said what, when it was said, and why it was said. But fixation drains authority. Curiosity must never replace obedience. Your assignment is not to investigate the past, it is to prepare for what is already moving toward you. Notice how certain doors are opening with resistance attached. Notice how opportunities feel heavier but clearer. Notice how peace only returns when you choose alignment over explanation. These are confirmations. Some of the same people who spoke about you are now watching quietly. They are confused. What they expected to slow you down has refined you. What they thought would cause retreat has produced focus. What they believed would expose weakness has revealed resilience. And this unsettles them more than success ever could. Because success can be dismissed as luck. But consistency exposes truth. You are becoming consistent in ways that cannot be argued with. This is why your silence is louder now. This is why your absence is noticed. This is why your presence shifts atmospheres without effort. You are carrying authority you did not claim. It was conferred. And authority attracts testing. Do not be alarmed if new challenges appear quickly. Speed does not mean danger, it means readiness. You are being trusted with more because you did not collapse under less. There is something else you must know. Not all secret conversations about you were negative. Some were fearful. Some were curious. Some were defensive. But some were concerned, because your growth confronts complacency. Your obedience confronts compromise. Your discipline confronts excuses. Light always feels aggressive to darkness. This is why God is teaching you restraint. You are learning when to speak and when to let silence work. You are learning when to advance and when to wait. You are learning that not every open door is yours to walk through immediately. Timing is protection. And now, as the noise around you increases, your inner clarity must deepen. This is not the season to second-guess your discernment. What you feel is not paranoia. It is pattern recognition. Trust what sharpens you, not what flatters you. If you feel drawn to remain connected, do not ignore that pull. Staying present, returning, aligning, these are not small actions. They are positioning you within a flow that cannot be accessed casually. Because what is about to happen will not make sense to everyone. And when it begins, suddenly, unmistakably, you will realize why God allowed the secret talk to surface before the manifestation. Because the next phase will force a question no one will be able to avoid. If this was who you were becoming under pressure, what will you become now that heaven has fully stepped in? Stay with me now, because this is where understanding turns into momentum. Once awareness settles, responsibility follows. You may have noticed that after the secret talk surfaced, God did not rush to explain himself to you. He did not give you a detailed report of who said what and why. Instead, he adjusted you. Your reactions slowed. Your tolerance for confusion diminished. Your patience sharpened into discernment. That was intentional. You were being prepared to carry clarity without needing validation. Many people never reach this point. They spend years reacting to rumors, defending themselves against assumptions, chasing closure from mouths that never intended to tell the truth. But you are being spared that cycle. God did not expose the talk so you would become consumed by it. He exposed it so you would outgrow it. This is why your emotional landscape is changing. You still feel deeply, but you recover faster. You still care, but you detach quicker. You still listen, but you no longer absorb everything. These are signs of authority forming, not coldness. And authority must be handled carefully. Hear this: what you know now does not require you to confront. It requires you to position. Confrontation feeds ego battles. Positioning shifts outcomes. God is moving you into rooms where explanations are unnecessary. In those spaces, your fruit will speak louder than your history. Your consistency will answer questions you were never asked directly. Your restraint will confuse those who expected reaction. Some will mistake your silence for weakness. Let them. Silence guided by God is never passive. It is strategic. It removes you from arguments you were never meant to win, because you were meant to transcend them. Pay attention to what is happening quietly. Certain connections are thinning without conflict. Certain invitations are disappearing without drama. Certain conversations feel repetitive, draining, unnecessary. This is pruning, not loss. God is protecting your focus. You cannot carry everyone into what is next. Some people were allowed proximity to you only for a season. When they chose to speak about you instead of covering you, they unknowingly disqualified themselves from future access. Not because you rejected them, but because alignment shifted. This is divine separation. And separation always precedes acceleration. You may sense impatience rising in others toward you. A subtle pressure for you to explain yourself, to clarify your stance, to reassure them that nothing has changed. But something has changed, and you are not required to downplay it to keep others comfortable. Growth does not ask permission. There is also something else happening that you must understand clearly. The exposure of secret talk created a spiritual boundary. From this point forward, access to you requires alignment, not familiarity. Just because someone knew you before does not mean they can walk with you now. This will test your compassion. You will be tempted to reopen doors out of kindness, nostalgia, or guilt. But discernment must override emotion. Compassion does not mean compromise. Love does not require proximity. God is teaching you how to bless people from a distance. Watch how peace responds when you choose wisdom over sentiment. You will notice it immediately. The moment you stop trying to correct narratives, your energy returns. The moment you stop seeking understanding from the wrong people, clarity increases. The moment you stop explaining your obedience, confidence settles. These are confirmations. There is no chaos in your spirit because heaven is not confused about you. Now listen closely to what comes next. What was said about you behind closed doors created expectations, both positive and negative. Some expected you to retreat. Some expected you to overreact. Some expected you to self-sabotage. Some expected you to prove them wrong loudly. None of that is your assignment. Your assignment is to move steadily, quietly, undeniably forward. When God vindicates, He does it so thoroughly that explanations become unnecessary. When He promotes, He does it so cleanly that arguments fall apart on their own. You are approaching that kind of vindication. That is why restraint is being emphasized now. That is why timing feels sacred. That is why impulsive reactions feel wrong in your spirit. You are learning to wait without stagnating. This season is teaching you how to stand in confidence without arrogance. How to remain open without being exposed. How to be visible without being vulnerable to manipulation. And yes, this requires discipline. But discipline always precedes elevation. If you feel drawn to remain attentive, returning, staying aligned, do not ignore that pull. Consistency in small acts of agreement strengthens your spiritual footing more than dramatic gestures ever could. You are being trusted with more. And as this trust grows, you will notice something surprising. Some of the same people who spoke about you will begin to mirror your posture. They will adopt your language. They will echo your values. They will reference ideas you carried long before they noticed them. This is not coincidence. It is influence catching up to observation. And it will confirm something important. You were never behind. You were ahead, just quiet. Now, as the final pieces begin to shift into place, there is one last truth you must hold firmly. The secret talk did not reveal your weakness. It revealed your impact. And what God is about to allow next will make it impossible for anyone, including you, to underestimate what has been forming all along. Because the next move will not be subtle. It will be unmistakable. And when it happens, you will finally understand why heaven insisted you learn restraint before release, and why the final unfolding will leave everyone asking one urgent question. Was this happening the entire time? Right in front of us? Now listen, because this is where everything converges. What you are standing in right now is not aftermath. It is alignment. The secret talk, the exposure, the restraint, the separation, all of it was rehearsal. You were being trained to stand steady when momentum arrives without warning. And momentum is arriving. you may feel it as a quiet pressure, not loud excitement. A sense that time is compressing. That decisions matter more. That delay feels heavier than action. This is not anxiety. This is readiness meeting appointment. The reason God allowed the secret talk to surface before this moment is simple. You needed to be internally settled before you were externally elevated. Elevation without inner clarity destroys people. Visibility without discernment ruins assignments. Acceleration without restraint fractures character. But you were prepared in reverse. You learned to hold your peace before holding influence. You learned to observe before being observed. You learned to stand alone before being trusted with many. That is why this will last. Now hear this with precision. There will be a moment, soon, when something shifts publicly. It may look like an opportunity. It may feel like sudden favor. It may come as recognition, access, or authority. And when it does, you will notice who reacts strangely. Some will celebrate loudly but feel threatened quietly. Some will question how it happened so fast. Some will pretend they always believed in you. Some will go silent altogether. Do not internalize any of it. Their reactions are not your responsibility. Your stewardship is. This is where many fail, so stay anchored. You are not being elevated to prove anyone wrong. You are being positioned to fulfill something right. If you turn elevation into revenge, you will poison it. If you turn vindication into pride, you will shorten it. Remain clean. Let God be obvious without you being loud. Remember, the most powerful authority does not announce itself. It is recognized. As this next phase unfolds, you will also notice something unexpected. Peace will increase, not decrease. That is how you will know it is God. Chaos accompanies counterfeit acceleration. Peace accompanies true alignment. You will move faster, but feel calmer. You will carry more, but feel lighter. You will speak less, but be heard more. That is divine order. There will be moments when you're tempted to finally say everything you held back. To explain your side. To expose what you know. To clarify what was misrepresented. But wisdom will restrain you. Not because the truth is weak, but because it no longer needs your defense. Your life will answer questions your mouth never touched. And listen carefully now. Some of the secret talkers will eventually realize they misjudged you, not because you confronted them, but because outcomes corrected them. Nothing humbles assumption like consistency over time. Others will never admit it. Release the need for acknowledgement. Closure is not always verbal. Sometimes closure is distance plus peace. Now, there is one final instruction for you. Do not shrink yourself to make this easier for others to understand. What God is doing through you will not make sense to everyone, and it is not supposed to. If everyone understands it, it is not divine enough. You were never meant to be common. You were shaped in quiet, tested in obscurity, refined under observation, and protected through exposure. That combination is rare, and it produces something unmistakable. Impact. And as impact increases, so does responsibility. Stay humble. Stay grounded. Stay aligned. Return to stillness often. Obedience will keep you sharp. If you feel a pull to stay close, to return, to listen again, to remain aligned, honor that. Consistency keeps you positioned. Presence keeps you covered. Because this message is not ending. It is completing a cycle. The secret talk about you was never meant to come out, but God allowed it because it marked the end of preparation and the beginning of manifestation. And when the full picture becomes visible, when what has been forming finally steps into the light, there will be no debate, no confusion, no explanation needed. Only one undeniable realization will echo in every room you enter. This was never delayed. This was never accidental. This was always unfolding exactly on time. And the final curiosity, the one even you will sit with quietly, is this. If this is what God accomplished before revealing you fully, what happens next, now that nothing about you is hidden anymore?